I'm on a mission to watch 100 time loop stories. And along the way, I'm sharing my thoughts on some of the most interesting examples. We started this series with a deep dive on the 1993 classic Groundhog Day and have slowly expanded, covering a ton of different media. And today we're talking about quite possibly the craziest loop on my list. A multi-episode arc called The Endless Eight from the cult animated series The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. This incredibly divisive series manages to be both exciting and tedious. It's immersive, it's experimental, it's exhausting, it's frankly completely nuts that it was ever even made. And we're going to talk about it. So what is it? The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya is an anime series produced by Kyoto Animation that first aired in 2006. It's based on a series of light novels, basically like short prose books with occasional comic-style illustrations. They were a mix of novels and short stories initially serialized in a magazine called The Sneaker, that were then adapted into a manga, an anime, a spin-off web series, a movie, and tons of additional mixed media. The series focuses on Haruhi, an eccentric high schooler who wishes life was more exciting. To that end, she forms the SOS Brigade, an after-school club dedicated to searching for mysteries and the paranormal. And Kyon, a boy in her class who gets sucked into her orbit as one of its founding members. Soon he learns that all the other members of the club actually are supernatural beings. They've all been sent to observe Haruhi because it turns out she has the power to transform reality around her. She's basically the god of their universe without knowing it, and they have to keep her entertained and avoid her getting too bored or upset. Otherwise, strange shit starts happening. When the show returned for its second season in 2009, it aired The Endless Eight. 8 episodes back-to-back that were almost identical. Over the course of each 22-minute episode, the same thing happened, with almost all the dialogue and action exactly the same. Kyon is spending a lazy summer day watching baseball on TV when he gets a call from Haruhi. He meets the gang and they go swimming. Later, they sit in a cafe and discuss all the other activities they want to check off before summer is over. They go shopping, they go to a festival, they play with fireworks. The next day, they go bug catching. They briefly get a summer job advertising for a local shop. They stargaze. After checking everything off the list, they meet back at the cafe. Haruhi got her summer homework finished early, but most of the rest didn't, so they spend the last day of summer separately. Kyon tries to get it done, but eventually gives up and goes to bed. In the second episode, he starts feeling an intense kind of déjà vu, and the others find that their powers are strangely blocked. Yuki confirms this. She's the only member of the group who has memories of every loop, but her job is strictly to observe, so she never interferes until prompted. They think the loop is happening because there's another thing Haruhi wants to do while it's still summer, but they can't figure out what it is. They part ways at the cafe, and the loop begins again. According to Yuki, this has happened 15,498 times. The last episode, Endless 8-8, is loop number 15,532. It passes mostly the same as the others, except for the very last day of summer, and then, finally, the loop ends. Okay, so, you can't just air the same story 8 times in a row and expect everyone to enjoy it. For context, the Endless Eight saga originally aired weekly on Japanese television, which meant fans of the show just got this for 2 whole months. Although it became famous as one of the biggest experiments ever undertaken by a mainstream anime, and arguably achieved a cult-like status, this seems to have been really bad for the show overall. Even in my own comments, when you guys have recommended me this, you're still mostly really negative about it. In a show that already moves fairly slowly, in which whole episodes can pass with very little action, you can understand how fans would get really upset and think this was taking it too far. But my experience of it was very different. I watched The Endless Eight a few weeks ago, and I basically haven't stopped thinking about it since. I had watched the first few episodes of Haruhi back when I was in college, but I'd never made it this far into the series, so I decided to watch the whole show from the beginning. When I got to The Endless Eight, I ended up watching it all in one day, broken up with a couple of snack breaks. And I've never quite had a media experience like it. For starters, although the story of every episode is basically the same, each one is freshly animated. Nothing has been reused. They experiment with angles, with color, and in a few places stray really far from the norm. I particularly loved this sequence with the aeroplane in Endless 8-4.
でも、何をすべきなんだ?
And this ticking sequence at the end of Endless 8-5. At this point in the arc, I found myself really starting to lose myself in it. It has this weird ambience I was actually starting to really enjoy. When everything is the same except minor details, you start to become hypersensitive to anything new. Anything that breaks that rhythm feels very pronounced. It became hypnotic, almost meditative. By about halfway through episode 6, I started feeling like I was going mad. Like this was all some elaborate prank on me somehow. I felt like I was getting a kind of mental tunnel vision. I didn't know when I had started watching this thing. I had no sense of how much time was passing. I wasn't looking at my phone, but I also wasn't feeling fidgety. I didn't want to look at my phone. I was in it. This was just like my life now. I didn't know the universe was shrinking and this was all I'd ever fucking known. My whole world started fucking collapsing. And then it was over. I really sincerely enjoyed Endless 8. It is truly insane that this exists, but I can't help but respect the commitment. It felt less like a TV show and more like an immersive performance piece, even though I was all alone. And I actually wasn't super into the show so far. Season 1 had its moments, but overall I found it was dragging for me. A very cool premise, kind of executed a bit too loosely in my opinion. The Endless 8 was when it really came alive for me. The loop made me feel powerless and lost, and therefore really communicated the feeling of its characters, who themselves are trapped at the mercy of their unwitting god. It was stunning. It's rare that you experience something truly unique in film and television, and the irony of that unique experience being full of repetition is not lost on me. If I had to make one criticism, it's simply that the story's resolution could have been more exciting or meaningful. During the middle episodes, I, the audience, had a lot of time to speculate about what it was Haruhi needed or wanted to do, and I imagined what I thought to be kind of better endings. I was looking for something more. But even this, right, as I thought more about it, and as I was writing this video, I don't know if I can stand by this criticism. It's fitting that Endless 8 ends as quietly as it began. Maybe it could have been slightly better executed in the final minutes, and I think part of that might be nuances that have been lost in translation, but that's really about it. Maybe I actually wouldn't change a thing. We talk a lot in this series about dramatic shorthand and film language that helps simulate the experience of being caught in a loop. And here's a piece of television that does it the long way round, by forcing you to actually dedicate that time, overwhelming you with repetition and all the feelings that come with it. Endless 8 is a singular achievement in storytelling that deserves its infamous reputation. And I've seen a lot of recommendations online that if you're watching Haruhi, you should just watch Endless 8 1, 2, and then skip to the last one. I disagree. If you're going to do it, then do it. Surrender yourself to one of the strangest things you will ever watch. Turn off distractions, put your phone away, and let it waste your time.